Why is ABC News paying President Trump $15 million? What are the drones flying over New Jersey? Is Sydney Sweeney hot? We tackle all the important questions. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. The Duke lacrosse accuser from 20 years ago has finally come clean, admits she lied about the whole thing. And with that confession, the Me Too era is officially over. We will get to all of that. First, though, I want to tell you about delicious Good Ranchers. Go to goodranchers.com, use code Knowles. This Christmas season is about tradition. Gathering around the table with family, sharing meals together, celebrating what makes America great. But between the crowded grocery stores, the questionable meat sourcing, preparing that perfect Christmas feast has become more stressful than it should be, which is why I trust Good Ranchers. You know, the deeper reason I trust Good Ranchers is that they have the best meat, 100% American meat, no antibiotics, no hormones, premium steakhouse quality cuts. They have the best meat at insanely low prices, come right to your door, pre-trimmed, individually vacuum sealed. It's just out of control. For Christmas, you've got to make sure you stock up on your Good Ranchers. Do it for your Christmas dinner, but do it also for gifts. You can get luxury gift boxes. You can get the Michael Knowles box. It's just fantastic. Good Ranchers, code Knowles right now. You will get to pick a free gift that is included in every box for a year, plus $25 off your order and free express shipping. Go to goodranchers.com. Use code Knowles, KNWLAS, to claim this exclusive offer. Goodranchers.com, American meat delivered. George Stephanopoulos, the chief political anchor at ABC News, the former White House communications director under Bill Clinton, a total hatchet man for the Democrat establishment. George Stephanopoulos and ABC News have just apologized to President Trump for lying about him. And they've apologized with their words, and they've also apologized with $15 million that they have been forced to donate to the future President Trump Library and Museum. This is some beautiful stuff. How did it all happen? It all happened because George Stephanopoulos alleged 10 times in an interview with Nancy Mace that President Trump had been found liable for and for defaming the victim of that. Trump said that is actually defamation of me because that is not true about me, Donald John Trump. And so he sued ABC News and George Stephanopoulos. And in America, it's very difficult to successfully sue for defamation if you're a public figure. Donald Trump is the most public figure on planet Earth and has been for a long time. So it was a long shot. George Stephanopoulos, he was joking about this lawsuit. He went on Stephen Colbert's show. He said, he will not be cowed by Donald John Trump into neglecting the duties of his job.
Now you're being sued for defamation. Why?
Because of an interview like that. I was interviewing a congresswoman named Nancy Mace, who used to be highly critical.
My hometown, Charleston, South Carolina.
Of Donald Trump. And she was famously started her political career in a state house, when she was in the state house, talking about being a victim of. Mm-hmm. And so I asked her how she could be, as a victim of, how could she support someone who a jury has found liable for? Trump sued me because I used the word, even though a judge said that's in fact what did happen. And in fact, we filed the motion to dismiss last week. But she's now fallen on, and she tried to say that I was the problem for asking the question rather than he being the problem because a jury found him liable for defamation and sexual abuse.
Well, what do you now? So you're a major political reporter or an anchor. How does it feel to be sued by a former president for defamation for just doing your job?
Unfortunately, it now comes with the territory, but I'm not going to be cowed out of doing my job because of the threat of Donald Trump.
Okay, and to be fair, George Stephanopoulos was doing his job. His job as the chief political analyst for ABC is to lie about Donald Trump and Republicans. His job is to smear and defame anyone even slightly to the right of Hillary Clinton. So that's his job. That's what he's paid millions of dollars for. But now, because his job involves such dishonesty, because his job involves defamation, which is not legal. You're not allowed to do that. Now he's going to have to pay. ABC News is going to have to pay $15 million to President Trump. And Trump, in his magnanimity, said, look, you don't need to pay it to me personally. I've got enough money personally. Just donate it to a charity of my choosing. Oh, and by the way, the charity is going to be the Donald John Trump Presidential Library. Now, I have said for many years now that the Trump Library, unlike the Bush Library, the Obama Library, the Clinton Library, I think that Trump should establish the Donald Trump Presidential Library and Casino, and I think he should build it in Atlantic City, and I think you just really, go all the way with it. And in any case, whatever he builds, ABC and George Stephanopoulos are going to be responsible for $15 million of that build, plus $1 million for Trump's attorney's fees, because the judge did not find Trump liable for that. Was just a lie from Stephanopoulos. So not only did they have to pay the money, they also had to add an editor's note to a story about this interview. ABC News and George Stephanopoulos regret statements regarding President Donald J. Trump made during an interview by George Stephanopoulos with Rep. Nancy Mace on ABC's This Week on March 10th, 2024. Good stuff. We need to kick them while they're down. We need to kick them while they're down. Not out of cruelty, not to take vengeance into our own hands or purely to be vindictive. We need to kick them while they're down as a matter of strategy. The left, the liberal establishment is being really dishonest. They're violating the law in many, many ways. Just in this case, we're talking about defamation, but they're violating the law by not enforcing immigration law. They're violating the law by trouncing on the rights of women and taking away their bathrooms and sports teams. They're violating the law by giving a blanket amnesty that even Barack Obama admitted was unconstitutional with the DACA. The list goes on and on and on. They're doing things that are illegal. They're doing things that are certainly unjust. And so now that we have an opportunity, perhaps a once-in-a-generation opportunity, not just to reset the relationship between the citizen and the state, but also between the citizen and the state and the press, which is supposed to be the medium, they're the media between the people and the government. We need to make sure that we take this opportunity, crack their corrupt stranglehold on public speech in a supposedly self-governing republic. It means the media have substantial control over the whole political order. Got to get them out of there. Guys like Stephanopoulos, organizations like ABC News, they've abused their power. They've acted in corrupt ways. They've acted dishonestly. They've lost their credibility. Now make them pay up for that. Make them pay money, make them pay in their apologies, and make them pay in the viewership that they are bleeding. More exciting news. The woman at the center of the Duke lacrosse scandal, many of the people listening to this show right now will not remember the Duke lacrosse scandal. I remember that this was 20 years ago. The Duke lacrosse team was accused of a stripper, Crystal Magnum, I think her name was. This former stripper now has come out and admitted she made the whole thing up.
I testified falsely against them by saying that they me when they didn't. And that was wrong. And I betrayed the trust of a lot of other people who believed in me. And made up a story that wasn't true because I wanted validation from people and not from God. And that was wrong. And I hope that they can forgive me.
There it is. No caveats, no hesitations. I lied. I violated their trust. I testified falsely against these people. I realized now I was seeking the validation of the principalities of this world instead of from God, and so I'm coming clean all these years later. That's really important. We think that the Me Too era started 4 or 5 years ago. It didn't. The Me Too era started with the Duke lacrosse scandal. There have been sex scandals forever, but this is a different kind of thing. Bill Clinton, obviously we were just talking about George Stephanopoulos. Bill Clinton, well, he was actually accused of by Juanita Broaddrick, but most of the sex scandals that actually got the guy impeached were about were about Bill Clinton having a consensual affair with an intern and with this woman and that woman, and it was a sex scandal, but it wasn't this. It wasn't the accusation of a man a woman and having everyone believe it even without any evidence, having the case tried in the court of public opinion even before it was tried in a court of law. These days with Me Too, sometimes it never is tried in a court of law. It's some kangaroo court on campus, or it's some media frenzy that destroys a person's career before anything is actually heard. This ends that. This ends that 20-year dark chapter where the gravity of crimes on the one hand and the rights of the accused were just totally thrown out the window. And there's a little cherry on top of all that, how you really know this era is closed. Got to give a hat tip to Jack Posobiec for finding this one. There was one person within the universe of Duke University during the Duke lacrosse scandal. There's one guy who was going on TV to defend the rights of the accused, to even suggest that maybe these guys who maintain their innocence, whose innocence has now been proven, might actually be innocent. That guy is Stephen Miller, who is about to become the deputy White House chief of staff under President Trump.
We're very, very concerned that two innocent people may have possibly just had their lives ruined.
Lord, your first concern is that somebody's falsely accused?
Don't tell me what my first concern is.
I was disturbed to see how people were saying, why aren't they coming forward? Why aren't they saying what happened? Why haven't they spoken out against other players? But no one said, wait, hold on a moment. What if they're innocent? What if they didn't do anything wrong?
I understand your point, but it's also freedom of speech. People have a right, just like you're expressing your opinion.
They do, but it was prosecuted as a witch hunt from the beginning. People presumed their guilt, and in America, we don't do that. There was never any real evidence against these players. The DNA didn't match on any count, in any way, in any capacity this entire time. You have absolutely no reason to believe these players committed this crime. One of the players has a solid alibi during the time the crime was supposed to have occurred. You've got all of this stuff. I cannot think of one case of equivalent or near profile in the United States of America where there's been so little reason for three people or one person or anybody to be brought to trial. This is insanity.
There it is. There's the cherry on top. A lot of people forget Stephen Miller was even around Duke at this time. The chief accuser who kicked off the whole era just admits she lied about everything. The notion that we have to believe all women, which was totally absurd, of course, as though women are not capable of lying, women are not capable of sin. That, totally out the window. The most prominent accuser of the proto-Me Too era just admits, yeah, I totally lied. You shouldn't have believed me. That was wrong of you to believe me. Obviously, you shouldn't believe all women. And now the guy who was a lone voice defending the innocent accused at that time is entering the White House in one of the most prominent and important positions. That is a really, really healthy sign for the culture. What did the libs say? The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. I guess that's true. It took 20 years, but here we are. Now we want to talk about other things like Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles. There is no shortage of ads from the big wireless carriers offering the latest iPhone for free. Do you know what free means? Free means that to qualify, you need to trade in your phone valued at $1,000. You need to be on the $100 a month unlimited plan and pay the $35 activation fee. That's a lot of money for a free phone, wouldn't you say? Don't fall for it. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, has a better option. Get a brand new iPhone 14, which has all the bells and whistles you need, plus get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot, all for $50 a month. How about that? Half the price of the big guys, you get a new iPhone powered by America's most dependable 5G network. Do it. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles, KNWLES. Switching is easy. And when you go to puretalk.com/Knowles, you will get an additional 50% off your first month. I love Pure Talk. I've had my Pure Talk phone for years at this point, probably got to be 3 years. The service is fantastic, cannot be beat. It's an American company. They're on our side. Pure Talk, that is America's wireless company. Speaking of women, Hollywood, is Sydney Sweeney hot? This is the debate that has taken over social media, much of my Twitter feed. Is Sydney Sweeney hot? And people can't agree on this question. Well, they agree on the question. They can't agree on the answer. I must weigh in. I have very strong opinions on this debate. I am not going to wade into the substantive matter all that much. I'm not going to make some impassioned case for why or why not Sydney Sweeney is hot, because I find that untoward, because I'm a married man, and that's just not the sort of thing a respectable fellow would do. However, I will make one cultural observation why the is Sydney Sweeney hot debate matters. And that is, This whole debate, the fact that the debate is taking place, is proof of widespread addiction. I think that's really what lies at the heart of this. And you don't need to just take my word for it. You can also take the credibility and the authority of Jean Baudrillard, who's a sociologist, a postmodern philosopher. We've mentioned him on this show before. You might recall, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I had a great commentator, Wokel Distance, on, and he was discussing Baudrillard's theory of hyperreality. And the analogy he used was, he said, in ancient days, people ate strawberries. And they said, well, the strawberry tastes really good. And then over time, they said, the strawberry is so good, but I want even more of the strawberry, even more potent form. So they made strawberry jam. And then over the years, they said, this jam, it's not enough. I want to make a strawberry candy. Okay, I'm going to have a strawberry candy. No, even that, it's not hardcore enough. I've got to distill it down even further. I'm going to have a strawberry Jolly Rancher. And then they said, no, even that's not enough. I want a strawberry Jolly Rancher flavored soda. And by the time you reach the end of this process, people really like the strawberry Jolly Rancher flavored soda. But if they actually picked up a regular old strawberry, they wouldn't recognize it. They said, what is this? This isn't good enough. I don't even know what this is. You've distilled the essence of the thing down so far that it now bears very little resemblance to the actual thing that you started with. I was thinking about Baudrillard, not just because of our conversation with Wokel Distance, or not just because of hyperreality, but Baudrillard wrote a book about seduction. And I think this helps to explain why people are confused about whether or not Sydney Sweeney, who is manifestly a rather pretty lass, whether or not she's attractive. He wrote this book about seduction, and he focused a lot of it on, he said, promotes female pleasure in so exaggerated a manner only in order to better bury the uncertainty that hovers over the black continent of femininity. He says that the female is a principle of uncertainty. He views being male as a principle of production. That's what lies at the essence of masculinity, of being a male. Whereas with femininity, it's all about this uncertainty. He focuses on drag queens. And he says, what's so interesting about drag queens, transvestites, is sometimes they'll have a mustache. Sometimes they'll have their chest hair sticking out. That what transvestitism is about is not so much the seduction of another person as the seduction of signs and symbols. Just to bring it back down to earth, we can see that kind of strawberry Jolly Rancher milkshake, hyper reality process taking place. The drag queen is so exaggerated a caricature of a female that the drag queen is almost unrecognizable from the female. Or what being a female actually is basically unrecognizable if you were to look at a drag queen. It's so exaggerated that it's just taken on its own kind of being. It's now divorced from the subject matter. With the Sydney Sweeney is hot debate, I think Baudrillard is really onto something. Even though he's a postmodern philosopher, he's really onto something here, which is that when people get really into any kind of hyper-real distillation of something, they become perverts. Their tastes just become so weird. They need the Jolly Rancher flavored soda. They no longer want a strawberry. They no longer can even recognize a strawberry. A line from Baudrillard's Seduction. Perhaps is only an allegory, that is to say, a forcing of signs, a Baroque enterprise of over-signification touching on the grotesque. The obscenity itself burns and consumes its object. I think that's what this comes down to. If one cannot recognize that Sydney Sweeney possesses a kind of attractiveness, it is probably because one has so burned out one's sensors on, and I don't even just mean literal, I mean the overstimulation of our culture, the saturation with caricature and grotesquerie. The culture has become just so decadent that, you see this every year. There's surveys that come out about the top terms that are searched for. And they always become weirder and weirder and more grotesque. At a certain point, they don't even seem like they're connected to sex at all. I remember there was a Supreme Court case that came up. This was now 10, 15 years ago. And it was about a type of that involved just torturing kittens. viewer discretion advised. Well, certainly for that kind of, but even this discussion, it involved torturing poor little animals. And what was so striking about the case is it had nothing to do with sex, and yet it was it was this hyper-real, bizarre kind of perversion. And I think that's basically where the culture leads you. As a barometer, if you cannot find a glamorous Hollywood starlet of perfectly ordinary glamour, common glamour, but glamour nonetheless, attractive, something's gone wrong with your brain. You got to get off the strawberry flavored Jolly Rancher sodas. You need to get back to reality, man. Now, speaking of in hyper reality, there's another story coming out about this fact, and it is that only models are using AI chatbots to talk dirty to the perverts who subscribe to their websites. So, again, I have no experience with only, but from what I read, the guys would pay money, and part of what you're paying for is this illusion of a relationship, this kind of parasocial relationship with one of the people. But the women aren't actually chatting with you. Previously, they would just hire people in the third world to chat with these men and to make them titillated. But now they're not even doing that. Like, as with all of AI, it seems that automation is even coming to the industry. So they're outsourcing it to chatbots. Some of the chatbots write responses to prompts that are sent to them by the people who run the only websites. Other chatbots that are apparently more lucrative actually initiate the chats with the subscribers. And those result in higher tips. They're better able to titillate the subscribers. And so they'll one example given in a news story here by Wired is that one of the subscribers, in response to this prompt initiated by a robot, gave the woman a $1,000 tip. Another reminder here. There are economic indicators that don't really represent the health of an economy. GDP might be going up because people are subscribing to only. The economy is actually getting worse. People are just being lazy and addicted to things and perverted, and they're not really producing anything. They're just titillating themselves. Some people are saying this is good. Well, at least now it's not the women involved in this. It's just these robots. I think this is not good because it's only going to make the industry more efficient. It's just like the screen when you go to McDonald's now. It makes McDonald's much more efficient, which is fine when I want to get a double quarter pounder with cheese. But if you make intrinsically vicious, evil industries more efficient, that is only going to have a negative effect. It's going to have a negative effect, well, ultimately on your economy, I guess, because it's damaging the people, but it's going to have a negative effect on the state of people's souls. It's going to have a negative effect on the common good. Not good stuff. Now, if you care about the common good, I want to talk to you about Stronghold Rescue and Relief. Go to strongholdrescue.org. As Americans, we are extremely blessed to have people like the Navy SEALs and Army Rangers and many others to represent us and defend us during the worst of times. However, in most countries, when war and violence break out, there's often no one to help the people caught in the middle. That's where an organization called Stronghold Rescue and Relief steps in. Founded by a former Navy SEAL, Stronghold sends small teams of U.S. veterans, like Navy SEALs and Army Rangers, into active war zones to conduct rescue missions and deliver life-saving care in the most remote and dangerous places imaginable. Stronghold is able to serve others because they're funded by a subscription model similar to Netflix. Every month, thousands of supporters each pitch in a little bit to keep Stronghold running. If you would like to become a supporter too, you go to strongholdrescue.org right now. When you become a monthly supporter, you will receive the same kind of t-shirt that Stronghold teams wear during the real-world operations. During the month of December only, a private donor has pledged to double the donation of every new supporter, up to $25,000 total. So for less than the cost of a Netflix subscription or a meal at a restaurant, you can help create jobs for America's veterans and fund critical missions to serve the innocent, and it's totally tax deductible. Right now, go to strongholdrescue.org to become a supporter. Now, speaking of threats, you know those drones that are flying over New Jersey that everyone's talking about? And people are asking, is it an alien invasion? Is it the Iranians? Is it the U.S. government? Is it, I don't know. I don't know what it is. One New Jersey state senator is trying to shed some light on this. This state senator, John Bramnick, told News Nation that he suspects The government knows a lot more than they're letting on.
Whatever these drones are doing, the government really doesn't want us to know. What that must mean is they're more concerned with us getting knowledge and being afraid of that information than having no knowledge and having all these questions. That's why I'm worried about it. It must be something going on that they can't tell us because they are so fearful of what the public's going to do when they hear what the drones are doing. There's no way the Department of Defense does not know what's going on. We have not heard. Have we heard one word from the Department of Defense? Zero.
Okay, so there are two ways to look at the Department of Defense, CIA, FBI, the deep state. And this state senator is expressing one of those views. He's saying there's no way the Defense Department doesn't know. There's no way our government doesn't know exactly what's going on. This is the James Bond view of the government. They know exactly what's going on. The CIA controls everything in the world. They're extremely efficient. They're extremely effective. They're in control of everything. But there's another view of the Pentagon and the CIA and the FBI and the deep state. And the other view is the Cohen brothers burn after reading view. The other view is that these agencies, though they have done some heroic and impressive things, they're government agencies and they screw up and they bumble. In burn after reading, the CIA, every time they try to do anything and fix any problem, it just gets 20 times worse. And they say, okay, well, keep your eye on it, and then people are dying and it's totally crazy. It spins out of control. Those are two views of government. His view, the government, they're really in charge, don't worry. And the government doesn't really know how to do anything effectively. And what's odd is people simultaneously hold both of those views. The very same people who will tell you that the government is full of bumbling idiots who can't do anything right, and that's why we need to privatize so many sectors of our public life. They're the same people who will tell you, the CIA knows what's going on. The Defense Department knows exactly what's going on. They've got their finger on the pulse of every vein around the world. So that's one view. Some more information coming out of New Jersey. A New Jersey mayor, Michael Mellom, has just stated that he heard from the state of New Jersey that if any of these drones go down, they should not interfere with it. They should not touch it. They should call in a bomb squad and the state government immediately.
On the way here, I was on the phone with my OEM team, and we now have guidance coming from the state. And that guidance does say two different things. First of all, if there is a downed drone in our vicinity, we are immediately to call the bomb squad of our county. And second, our fire department has been instructed to make sure they wear hazmat suits.
So if something falls out of the sky that people have seen, and some of these things are as big as an SUV, if that happens, you're to treat this more than a plane crash. It's treated like an attack on the homeland?
That is correct, because they're not quite sure if there's a payload or not. And that's what we were told during our briefing on Wednesday. Something's not adding up here. It sounds like it might very well be our highest level government. It might be government assets that are being deployed as a countermeasure.
Okay, so this is another theory that Michael Mellom has floated, which is, and I saw this going around X as well, that these drones are U.S. military equipment. However, they are a countermeasure against if someone, say, had a dirty bomb, God forbid. These are able to detect nuclear weapons or some terrible threat. And so that's what's going on. They're being sent over as a countermeasure. Or another theory is they're being sent over just as a trial run to see if they would work effectively as a countermeasure. And secondly, to see how the public would react if there ever were an actual threat, which at present there is not. But if there were, how would the public react to the drones flying overhead? And then there's another theory expressed by John Kirby, the national security spokesman at the White House, which is that we don't know anything about the drones. The government doesn't know a damn thing. This is pretty much full-on burn after reading view. We don't know anything about it. And so because we know so little about the drones, we actually can't shoot them down.
Well, the idea of taking something down, again, you want to worry about public safety. First of all, we don't have enough conclusions to take that kind of a policy action. But let's just assume for a minute, Martha, that we did. I mean, you're not going to want to shoot something down where it could hit somebody's house or hurt somebody.
Well, the Coast Guard says that there are 30 of them following one of their ships in the ocean. So would that work?
I mean, again, we have to develop the policy options based on what we know we're dealing with here, and we just don't know enough to make those to take those kinds of actions. But my goodness, we're going to do everything we can to find out, and we're going to share as much as we can. I understand it's frustrating for folks. Yeah. It's frustrating for us. We want to know as well.
Okay. I love Martha's response here. She goes, hold on, John. You're telling me that you don't want the drone to go down on someone's house. Well, what about when they're way out into the ocean following Coast Guard ships? Why can't you shoot them down to the ocean? Oh, well, we don't know. Maybe it'll poison the ocean water. Who knows? We're not going to do anything, but by golly, Martha, we're going to get to the bottom of this. So what do I think is actually going on? I suppose if you put a gun to my head, if you put a drone to my head and said, Michael, tell me exactly what you think is going on, I find John Kirby's explanation to be the least likely. Because if the Pentagon, if the White House didn't really know what was going on, I don't think they would tell you that. I think that if the White House didn't really know something about these drones, they would nevertheless project strength. If this really were some threat, that this were from Iran or from China or from wherever, the first thing the White House would be doing is saying, we know everything, we're totally in control, nothing to worry about here, move along, move along. The fact that their actual line, their strategic line is, yeah, we don't know what it is, we're trying to figure it out, to me says, no, they do know. They're not terribly concerned about it. I'm not terribly concerned about it. I am not easily distracted by things fluttering around in the sky. I'm not distracted by butterflies. I'm not distracted by lightning bugs. I'm not really distracted by these drones. I think that there are more pressing matters on the table. And if this were really something to be concerned about, if that were the case, what the White House's line would be, hey, we know exactly what it is. We're totally in control. With this kind of a dishonest, lying White House, then I would know it's time to be scared. As of now, I'm not too concerned about the Martian landing or the Iranian landing, by the way. The only alien invasion I'm concerned about is the one at the southern border that the White House seems to love distracting from. Speaking of the U.S. military, Jill Biden. The hits just keep on coming from Jill Biden. Jill Biden just gave some remarks at a Marine Corps Reserve Toys for Tots events. You want to talk about the culture turning. You want to talk about the end of these malicious, malignant eras, the Me Too era, this politically correct era. Jill Biden said happy holidays at this event, and a child corrected her.
Hello. How are you? Hi. Happy holidays. Hi. Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas. Yes. The president and I are so grateful, and we're honored to open the White House to all of you. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone. And then from the mouth of babes, you get this wisdom. Look, he goes, Happy Christmas. It's Christmas, lady. It ain't happy holidays. Every year, fewer and fewer conservatives make this point. And then every year the libs make fun of us conservatives for making this point. And then every year we make fun of the libs for making fun of us for making this point. And we're trying to figure out who looks more ridiculous. The people who say happy holidays or the people who criticize those who say happy holidays for saying happy holidays. Happy holidays is a ridiculous expression this time of year. The holiday is Christmas. There is one major holiday in December. It's Christmas. What's the other major holiday? Hanukkah? First of all, there are like 5 Jews in the whole world, and Hanukkah is not even a major Jewish holiday. It's a minor Jewish holiday. It's taken on some significance in America as a kind of Jewish alternative to Christmas, but it's not a major holiday. Talk to any serious religious Jew. He will tell you it's not a major holiday. Kwanzaa? Is it Kwanzaa? Fewer people celebrate Kwanzaa than celebrate Hanukkah, I promise you that. And not many people celebrate Hanukkah. Kwanzaa was invented by a socialist lunatic who was imprisoned for torturing women in the 1960s. Some flunky Cal State Long Beach professor, a complete nut. It's not a real thing. That's not a holiday. Certainly not a major holiday. Well, would you say New Year's? New Year's is January 1st. That's not a December holiday. Happy holidays. What else? What do we have? Does Arbor Day fall in December? No, it doesn't. Festivus? I don't think so. That's just a Seinfeld joke. What's the holiday? Oh, Michael, why do you care? What do I care? What do you mean, what do I care? Because it's Christmas. I'm going to say Happy Christmas. You're the one who's changed it. It's like the libs. They say, why do you care if we force men into the women's bathroom? Why do you care so much? Why are you so obsessed? I'm not obsessed with bathrooms. I was perfectly fine the way things were. You're the ones who insisted that we change how the bathrooms work, and then I criticized you for it, and you make it seem like I'm the one with the problem. I'm just saying, hey, don't change it. That's what I'm saying about Christmas. Happy holidays. What holidays? It's Christmas. The kid knows it. You know it. Everybody knows it. The only reason not to say Merry Christmas, the only reason to say Happy Holidays is if you have some weird disdain, some bizarre, bubbling contempt for Christmas, which probably reflects a contempt for Christianity, which probably reflects a contempt for God. That's it. That's all we're saying. Should I say Happy Holidays in, I don't know, February? Do we say Happy Holidays around Easter? Easter often coincides with Passover. Passover is a way more serious holiday in Judaism than Hanukkah is. Do we say Happy Holiday? I don't know. It's just weird. And the kids know it. And now even the First Lady, the Democrat First Lady, is being forced to concede the war on Christmas. Me Too, over. Total conservative victory. War on Christmas, over. Total conservative victory. Are you tired of winning yet? I'm not. I'm tired from winning. I'm exhausted by all this winning. Now, if you are still searching, speaking of Christmas, for the perfect Christmas gift, look no further. DailyWire Plus gift memberships are 40% off. That's right. You can save big while giving the gift of truth and entertainment this holiday season. When you give a DailyWire Plus gift membership, you are giving a full year of uncensored daily shows from the most trusted voices in conservative media with limited ads, groundbreaking investigative journalism, access to our whole entertainment catalog, including What is a Woman and the #1 documentary of the decade, Am I Racist? You'll also get full access to Bent Key, our kids app featuring over 40 hours and 1,500 hours of fun, values-driven content. Finish your Christmas shopping with one click. Go to dailywire.com right now. Give the gift of Daily Wire Plus. My favorite comment from Jay Primo last week. It's a quote from me, actually. He quotes me as saying, "You owe it to your neighbors to not be a creepy little goblin pervert." Michael Knowles, 2024. And that's an important quote. I want that one to go on like my Goodreads profile. You know, I want there to be a motivational poster with my name on it. It says, you owe it to your neighbors. Because it's not just, sometimes you hear people say, look, you owe it to yourself not to be a creepy little goblin pervert, like a little weirdo. For whatever it is you're doing, you owe it to yourself. No. You owe it to your neighbors. That is an obligation you have to society for the purpose of advancing the common good. It's your patriotic duty not to be a creepy little goblin pervert, okay? All right? That's the sooner we figure that out, the sooner our culture will improve. Speaking of the Bidens, oh boy, this was a doozy. Joe Biden yesterday showed up to the Willard Hotel in Washington, D.C. I know this because I was at the Willard Hotel just before he showed up. And I knew he was going to show up because the Secret Service locked down the whole block and it was very difficult to get in and out of the hotel. And I almost had to drag all my suitcases and all my kids and my wife 2 blocks down. Luckily, the Secret Service let the cars come in. It was okay. It was good. But I knew, okay, there's going to be some event here. And this is going to be a presidential level event. I didn't know if it was Biden. I didn't know if it was Trump. But I knew this is not some low-level cabinet official. This is the real deal. And sure enough, it was Joe Biden. What did Joe Biden have to say? Never in a million years could I have guessed that the reason Joe Biden showed up to the Willard, gave this nice big address for the Democrats' holiday reception. That's what C-SPAN called it. The Democrats' holiday, not Christmas. No, the Democrats don't like Christmas because they don't like God. Democrats' holiday reception. Here is what Joe Biden had to say.
I knew what I was doing to ask her to be my vice president. I knew her. I knew of her. I knew about her. I knew her record. I trusted her. She always served this country with purpose and integrity, and she always will. And you're not going anywhere, kid, because we're not going to let you go. Not going anywhere.
Okay, here is the surface level reading of this comment. I picked Kamala Harris to be my VP because I trusted her. And listen, you're not going anywhere, kid. You're not going anywhere. You're going to stay in politics. I'm gonna make sure you stay in politics, kid. But then just listen to the words he chose. He said, I picked Kamala Harris to be my VP. I trusted her. Not I trust her. I trusted her. Then she stabbed me in the back and threw me out of my own job and took my nomination from me after the primary process. But you know what? And she lost. You know what? You're not going anywhere, kid. You're not going anywhere. You want to go places? You're not going to go to those places because I'm not going to let you. Kid. Wow. Some will say I'm reading too deeply into this. I really don't think I am. Oh, Joe Biden's senile. He doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't know how that sounds. Let me promise you something. Joe Biden is senile. And Joe Biden, he doesn't walk as well as he used to. He doesn't look as good as he used to. He doesn't even quite smile as well as he used to. The last thing to go in Joe Biden before he croaks will be his political sense. That guy has a political sense down to his bones. He got himself elected to the U.S. Senate before he was old enough constitutionally to do so. He has been in it for the vast majority of his life. He still has that political sense. So you couple what he said at the Willard last night with that other supposed gaffe. Remember? He put on a Trump hat on the campaign trail in Pennsylvania and smiled for the cameras. Now, that was explainable too. Oh, no, it was just he offered a Kamala hat to a Trump supporter. He put on the Trump hat. It was a funny show of reaching across the aisle. Give me a break. If you believe that, I got a bridge of Brooklyn to sell you. Joe Biden knew how that would look. He knows how pictures work. He knows how political messaging works. It's like the only thing he knows. He knew what he was doing there. Okay, you don't believe that one? How about this one? Jill Biden comes out with her husband on election day to go vote. She's wearing a bright red dress. The media is speculating, wow, she would appear to be, she's covered head to toe in red. That would seem to signal, by wearing the color of the Republican Party, that maybe she actually supports the Republican in this race. Oh no, you're reading too deeply into it. Okay, you don't believe that. Then Jill Biden shows up to the White House. She lives in the White House. She gives a speech about the joy she feels this season. She makes a point. She says, this season it's really important to focus on the joy that we're all feeling. Joy was Kamala's first campaign theme. That was her campaign catchphrase. And Jill made a point. She leans into the mic. She doesn't have subtlety. She's got all the subtlety of a vaudevillian or a Marx brother. She leans in. She says, I just feel joy this season. Oh, you all are going to read into that. She even admitted the joke. She said, yeah, I chose that word intentionally. And now you get this. Kid, you're not going anywhere because I'm not going to let you go anywhere. You cannot convince me that the Bidens did not vote for Trump. I would have said 2 months ago, the Bidens certainly don't support Kamala, but who knows? At this point, I am fairly convinced they voted for Donald Trump. That is how much they hate this woman. And probably she's not going to go anywhere. And in part, that's because Joe Biden won't let her. Larger part is that she's not capable of going anywhere. Speaking of presidential politics, Adam Schiff, the man President Trump refers to as pencil neck. He is come out. He was a big part of the Trump impeachment back during the first term. He was leading a lot of the hoaxes against Trump. He has just come out on ABC News, which just paid Trump $15 million for lying about him. Said, look, I know Trump got elected. I know he got unified government. I know he won the popular vote. But he needs to make sure he doesn't pardon the January 6thers. That is not what the people elected him to do.
How about the question about the January 6th pardons?
Greatly concerned about it. First of all, that he could pardon people that beat police officers, gouged them, bear sprayed them. But also, even beyond that, just the general message it would send, George, that his first pardons are going to go to people who sought, through the use of violence at the Capitol, to stop the peaceful transfer of power, that played some role in that. Really, that's who he wants to pardon. The American people, I think, voted for him in part because they wanted something done about crime, not because they wanted to see him pardon criminals attacking the government.
Yeah. No, they did. They did, actually. Well, we're talking about grannies who took selfies in the rotunda. We're not talking about your guys. We're not talking about your BLM activists or your Antifa activists who burned the country down, who murdered dozens of people, who looted, pillaged, burned. We're not talking, those guys are pretty hardcore criminals. We're not talking about your guys, MS-13 and Trende Aragwal, the criminals running across the border when you rolled out a red carpet for them. We're not talking about those people. We're talking about the January 6thers who were a handful of eccentrics who in many cases were escorted into the Capitol. Some cases, they did nothing more than step foot in there, maybe take a picture or two and step out into the people's building, and then were arrested a year later and imprisoned in solitary confinement in some cases. Those guys aren't criminals. They were unfairly, selectively prosecuted on extremely trumped up charges that you guys wielded so that you could clamped down on the political order. You tried to do the same thing to Trump himself. The problem is the people voted for him. For Adam Schiff's argument to make sense, Trump couldn't have won because by Adam Schiff standards, Trump's a criminal. He was convicted. He was prosecuted 4 times by Democrats. He was convicted. He was also found liable in a civil case. He's a criminal by the Adam Schiff standard. And the American people voted for him. And almost half of Hispanics voted for him. And 1 in 5 black guys voted for him. And 40% of women under the age of 30 voted for him. And the majority of Americans voted for him. And he won in an electoral college landslide. So yeah, I think they want him to pardon most of the January 6thers. Now, I agree, maybe the January 6thers shouldn't be the very first pardon. The very first pardon should be the pro-lifers who were arrested and imprisoned for peacefully demonstrating against the wholesale slaughter of little babies. That should be the first part. If Trump's writing out the pardons, maybe 9 a.m., he pardons the pro-lifers, and then 9:02 a.m., he pardons the January 6thers. And there are other people he should pardon. Joe Biden's pardoning a lot of people, hardcore criminals, like his son. Trump, I don't think so. The Democrats are coming to grips with the fact that Trump won. They are. Some of them are recognizing that. They're trying to figure out how it happened, and they're at least admitting, look, it was such a landslide. It was too big to rig. You can't really claim that it was unfair. You can't even claim that it was undemocratic by using the silly measure of the popular vote, because Trump won that too, and it wasn't all that close. They have come to grips with the fact that Trump won. They have not come to grips with the significance of Trump winning. Trump ran on mass deportations. That is now a mainstream political position. Trump ran on pardoning people like the January 6thers. Trump ran on gutting the desiccated bureaucracy of the federal government. He ran on that, and most people voted for it. But Democrats can't bring themselves to accept the significance of that election, even if they accept the election itself, because it means that they would have to rip out the heart of their own party, and they're not willing to do that, not yet. Today is Music Monday, but if you are among the hoi polloi of the YouTube audience or any of the other public audiences, you don't get it. I'm sorry. You got to go to DailyWire Plus, subscribe, use code Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S, and you will get 2 months free on all annual plans.